front. Now we're going to see a little four-wide action. Crazy out of the triangle.
Oh, he gets into the lead on the record.
3x3 entering four.
3 deep. At the flag stand, side by side, it's going to be Jason Maines winning at Talladega.
Hello everybody, welcome into PGR Esports live from the high banks of Talladega Superspeedway. Getting ready for a good night of money racing here tonight. In the Gen 6 car, something that we don't usually see, but a little bit of a special event last week and tonight, of course, with the next gens last week and then the Gen 6s this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Well, drivers getting ready to roll off. We are expecting Dawson Wise to be joining us in the booth here later tonight, but for now, Matthew Baker, our usual race control and second broadcaster, he's out on track. You'll see him in your starting grid in just a moment. Here we go, though. It is Kevin Freese taking the pole. He puts down a pretty good lap at a 51.9. Garrett Rains roll off second. Cody Nagels, who actually won the ERA Omega Cup last night, brought himself home $4,000. Big win for him. We'll see what momentum he can pull from that here tonight. Andrew Navarro, good to see him back in the field tonight. He'll start fourth. Rounding out your top five is Trevor Osranoff. To his outside will be Justin Mills, J.R. Miller, and Mark Von Dell in row number 4 with Zach Range and John Ward rounding out your top 10. Dylan Jones back in 11th. It's going to be David Sheets in 12th. Moving on back to that 13th spot, it's Matthew Baker with Jeff Merck to his outside in 14th. One of the Coke Series drivers, Malik Ray, he will start in 15th with Devin Ray for KSR in 16th. Dustin Carruthers, another one of the KSR boys, he'll roll off 17th with James Thurston in 18th. Michael Triscaro, series owner, looking for a win tonight, rolls off 19th. Jack Hignite rounding out your top 20. Moving on back to row number 11, it's Richard Elliott and Kenny Reel, Steven Scott Jr. and Nash Brambilla in row number 12. Chad Ross, Joshua Watson, good to see him back in the field tonight. Those two making up row 13. It's going to be Joe Herda and Matt Lee in row 14. Mike Davenport in 29th and Logan York rounding out your top 30. Brock Westmoreland, he will roll off from the 31st position. Back in 32nd, we'll start Ryan Baste. 33rd, Ken McCullough Jr., Tony Cox in 34th. Tucker McClendon 35th. Rounding out the field tonight is Sean Corbett in 36th. Looking at the race info here tonight, it's the FEG 119, last of 4 sponsored races by Mr. FEG himself. We are in the we are in the Gen 6 series tonight, so ignore what that says. 45 laps going to be the scheduled distance, 80% fuel. Everybody does have unlimited tires, 1 fast pair, fixed setups, and 3 green-white checkers if we need them. And looks like might have had a couple issues here with the game freezing up, so we'll have to get these sorted out pretty quick. So give us just a couple minutes here. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties, but we will be right back. Stick with us. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Green flag was just thrown again. Sorry for the issues. iRacing did crash on me for some reason. Nothing I could do there, but here we go. Already 3-wide action. Just 3 laps in up front, though. Garrett Maines running a throwback scheme for his Toyota Camry just before he made it to the Coke Series, so we'll see if he can get the job done in that number 1 machine here tonight. Rolling the bottom. Actually, we got a couple of guys that we don't normally see in the field. Matthew Baker, one of them, just for the fact that he's normally up here in the booth, and right now he is pushing series owner Michael Trascaro. And boy, they're making a lot of progress right now in the middle, but the top definitely seems to be the place to be. Similar to what we saw last week, of course, in the next gens, but if you got the right pushers, you can make just about any lane work in these cars. The other thing that's a little bit different from usual is the speeds that these guys are able to put down in these cars. Garrett up front right now. We'll see what kind of speed he can put down. He's got Andrew Navarro just behind him, about 193 at the lowest in the corners, but down the straights, you saw it there, well over 200 miles an hour when you get tandemed up and you get the tandem working well. Going down a couple lanes and now making a shift up, actually. We got guys swapping back and forth all over the place. And as they all continue to try to get things sorted out, we continue to try to tick off laps here. Again, we are expecting a couple pit stops. In fact, we didn't really get a chance to go over the full race info due to the connection drop. So take another look at it here. It is the FEG 119. We are in the Gen 6 cars, not the truck series like we're used to seeing. However, 45 laps is the scheduled distance at 80% fuel. Everybody does have unlimited tires, 1 fast pair fixed setups, and 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. Track length here at Talladega, 2.65 miles, 104 degrees the track temp. Beautiful weather outside and a beautiful day to go racing here in the sim. All right, as they come across the line this time, they will be completing lap number 6. Garrett Maines has led them, just about all of them so far. Got himself on the pole, and since then has been looking strong on the outside. Cody Nagels a couple spots back, but how about the job that Justin Mills is doing right now in that 4 car? One of the Fords that we have in the field here tonight. It's a pretty good mix, too, of Chevys, Fords, and Toyotas. In fact, you go back just a spot behind him, and that's where it sits Dustin Carruthers, the driver out of Marmet, West Virginia. And how about Cody Nagels now took a look to the bottom, got a big push. Now they're all getting out of shape. Trascaro gets turned out of line. They're going to wreck. Matthew Baker hard into the outside wall. The 5 car goes in as well. Joshua Watson nowhere to go. And the 01 is quickly destroyed here in the early stages of this race. Well, the pushing was getting more aggressive. The moves were starting to get more aggressive. Eventually, something was going to have to give, and it did in a pretty big way. Joshua Watson is trying desperately to see if he can get this thing rolling to the pits, but it doesn't look to me like he's got either the right front or the left front intact enough to drive it back. So he's going to unfortunately have to pay that early tow bill, and got to think he's probably not going to be too happy about it. Kevin Freeze, he has also got heavy damage on his Chevy Camaro. That'll be his 1 fast spare gone early as well. So all these cars damaged in an early wreck. And I was just getting ready to talk about how some of the moves that we were seeing were getting a lot more aggressive than what we were expecting this early. You just saw right there, it looked like Cody Nagels was getting split. And then further back, the trouble really started with Michael Trascaro. We'll take a look in a minute, but how about up front right now, Garrett Maines? We'll see if they decide to make a stop. Now again, it was 85% fuel here tonight. And so you had to kind of wonder to yourself, what kind of strategy, or excuse me, 80% fuel, what kind of strategy does that play in terms of how far can they go on fuel, and what do you take here if we get a caution early? And looking at it, we'll call it 80%, right around that margin. You'd expect to get these guys, if I had to guess, maybe somewhere around the 20-25 range. So definitely think there's still a green flag pit stop on the line. It's just going to extend kind of the distance before they've got to make that stop here with this early caution. So while they make their pit stops, Garrett leads them in. Navarro, Mills, Dustin Carruthers, Nash Brambilla, Cody Nagels, Malik Ray. Just about the entire field coming in, minus a couple guys maybe thinking about trying some strategy. Let's go take a look back at what brought out this first caution here of the night. And again, it started back with series owner Michael Trascaro and Matthew Baker. And one of them is going to get tucked out of line here, and chaos is going to ensue after that. So first view we'll take here is from the chopper cam. Michael Trascaro and that bright yellow 34 machine. And you see it's a little bit of a checkup. In fact, just in front of him, you saw they actually split Cody Nagels. That's Matt Lee in the run. Just a little bit too great. He gives Cody a bump, but kind of shoots him towards the middle and kind of gets forced there. Doesn't have a choice. And then Trascaro is part of the checkup. He's getting tagged behind as well by Matthew Baker, and that's just going to send him up the track. And then once he makes contact with that outside line, not much is going to be able to be done from here. I was trying to figure out exactly who that was that he did run into. Again, different schemes, different numbers for a lot of these guys here tonight, but looks like that was the 11 machine. I believe, was that Malik Ray? Yeah, sure enough it was. And once they make contact, it's just everybody free-for-all trying to get through here. You saw Matthew Baker and Michael Triscaro both go hard into the wall. Joshua Watson with nowhere to go. And then there's the big hit for Kevin Freese, who ironically was choking pre-race and said, "Are you guys ready to tear some cars up?" And fortunately, that's exactly what happened for him here early. Taking a different angle here. I want to actually go on board with Michael Triscaro and see what it looks like from his view on what got him so out of shape. Again, these cars are a little bit more planted to the ground than the next gens, but doesn't mean that they're not easy to get out of shape if they get the right pushes the wrong ways. That was a pretty hard hit for a couple of those guys, and Michael Triscaro looks like maybe the suspension might be damaged there, so that'll probably be his fast repair gone early. You see a couple guys come to a halt, taking one more look here from TV6. And boy, Matthew Baker on the bottom thought maybe he was going to sneak by there, but at the last second gets hooked by the guy that he's been working with so good tonight. He's running a throwback. I believe he said it might have been his grandfather's late model. But you see the G&G Performance Engine machine, not the way he wanted to start this race either, as Kevin Freese gets plowed into by the 77. There's that big hit along the outside safer barrier. So as it all comes to a grinding halt, it brings out our first caution of the night. Meanwhile, back up front, lights on the pace car are going to go off with 9 laps complete. That means we are getting ready to go back green. How about Garrett Maines leading the inside, Andrew Navarro on the outside. Cody Nagels back in third, Richard Elliott fourth, Malik Ray in fifth. He's already up 10 from where he started. Matt Lee is up 23 positions from where he started, back in that 6th spot. Dylan Jones 7th, Jeff Merck 8th, John Ward in 9th, and Nash Brambilla, one of those guys that maybe seems like a solo driver, but working with Team PGR tonight and currently has himself rounding out that top 10. James Thurston, good run so far for him. He's up 7 from where he started. Back in just outside the top 10, Dustin Carruthers, Justin Mills. Watch for those two to get linked up, maybe work together. Mark Von Dell, Joe Herta, and then some of the guys sitting towards the back, especially after that wreck now. Joshua Watson, Mike Davenport, who you actually saw take a pretty hard hit. He came to a stop on the apron after that wreck. They are both being scored not on the lead lap. In fact, Davenport's 1 down, Joshua Watson's 2 down, so they're going to need a couple more cautions to have a chance to get back in this thing. And then there's the captain, Ken McCullough Jr., back in 33rd, Logan York, Trevor Osnoth, David Sheets. We got all these guys on driver cams, and we'll be taking a look at them throughout the night. But Michael Triscaro, one of those guys, got some of that damage fixed up and back in 30th, so he's got a lot of work ahead of him, but we'll see what he can do the rest of the way. Another one of the drivers that we have carrying it on board for us here tonight, just in front of him, and that is Tony Cox. We get to see Tony a lot, especially in the PGR series, but we saw him a lot in Tuesday Night Thunder as well, so we'll see what he can make happen here tonight. And last but certainly not least, streamer himself and one of the best PGR underdog winners of all time. That's right, it's Trevor Osnoth. He is back in that 31st position. He's still got some work to do as well. All right, as we go back up front, again, for anybody just tuning in, we are expecting Dawson Wise to join us in the booth here in a little bit. He's getting some things wrapped up on his end right now, but appreciate everybody tuning out. Good to see you all. Apologize for the early difficulties, but we're back on track, and we're back ready to see the green flag. Garrett Maines and Andrew Navarro back into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. Good initial jump from that inside line. It's similar to what we saw in the Podium 500 and the race last night. Garrett Maines quickly jumping up to the top, but goes right back to the bottom. He saw Cody Nagels and Matt Lee with a little bit of a surge. He wanted no part of the top, but quickly jumps back up just as quickly as he jumped down. Now him and Navarro will get locked up as the O2 machine tries to split the middle. Richard Elliott not going to get any help yet, and he is going to fade in a hurry. You saw Cody in the middle there for a minute. At least gave it a thought, but he quickly is going to get some help now from Matt Lee just behind them. How about the 80? A lot of guys trying to pop in this little bit of a battle, if you will, for who can get to the top lane the quickest. But right now it's still that top that's rolling the bestest. Saw some trouble out back, I thought. Saw some debris fly, but it looks like everybody's okay. So as we go back up front, Garrett Maines trying to lead that single file train on the top. Be the Pied Piper at Talladega, if you will. And so far so good. He's led them all, especially at least under green. John Ward back now just behind the 32 machine of Dylan Jones. Good to see him back in the field. Taking a look at the front of some of these cars, John Ward, a prime example. You got to push really hard, so you already see some damage to the front of these cars. It shouldn't be an issue, but it just shows you how hard you got to push if you want to start to make some progress. Here we go. We're going to see a move from Steven Scott Jr. in the 77 as he jumps to the bottom. He's still got some significant damage, especially on the rear of that car. A little bit on the right front as well, but he decided to not use that fast spare, stayed out, and yeah, I was going to say Kevin Freeze probably not going to have much of that for very long as he splits him in the middle. And that 77 is going to go to the back without any help. Freeze now, though, starting to work really well with Cody Nagels. They're starting to make some progress back up towards the front of the field, working on the outside. And as long as Kevin and Cody stay locked up, that progress will continue to triumph. And will we see Garrett and Navarro think about jumping down to side draft? And how strong is the side draft in these cars? These are all questions that we have not had answered because it's the first time that we're seeing these cars at a super speedway in PGR Esports. But Malik Ray, one turned out back. It's a 24. Hard into the wall. That's going to bring out another caution as he slides down.
All right, man. Caution is out.
That was a big hit. Couldn't tell exactly who it was. Was it? Might have been. Mark Von Dell is in this, but definitely didn't take the brunt of it. 24 machine of Ryan Baste took that first big shot that we saw into the outside wall. Mike Davenport driving by now. And the rear end on that car is gone. Completely missing. And so with just 13 laps complete, we draw second blood here on the night. Here we go. Let's go back and take a look at exactly where this goes wrong. Wow, that was a huge shot for Ryan Baste. As you see the back end getting completely torn off after making contact with that outside safer barrier. But he's going to get some help here, I'm thinking, as has been the case for pretty much every wreck we've seen here tonight up to this point, and try to figure out exactly who it is he got some help from. Is there, in fact, we're going to go to the rear chase, or the far chase first, and that's going to be Devin Ray, actually, and just gets him a little bit offset to the right. Back that up one more time for you. We talked about you got to tandem in these cars to make progress. Devin was trying to do that, but once he gets him offset right, hooks him, turns him dead right into the 78 machine. And actually, he net codes through the 78. Almost 78. Doesn't even look like he got touched. But that sends the 24 for a spin. Then he's going to get clobbered in the left rear, right rear, as they all try to duck low to miss it. And Trevor Osronoff, I think, was able to check up and actually just barely avoid this wreck. As you see Mark Von Dell run into the 89 there at the last second. That was Tucker McClendon, though, that snuck by up top. And then the 45 there of Sean Corbett with nowhere to go at the last second. So taking another look here. Back this up a little bit. We had a couple guys that barely snuck through this one. It was a nice piece of driving by quite a few of them. There's trying to figure out who it was that got tagged. You saw the 72 sneak by there. I think that was actually Tony Cox, who may have had one of the coolest views that we're going to see in this wreck. You see the 10 right there. I believe Dustin Carruthers gets spun a little bit further up. And here we go. Let's go to the cockpit view here for Tony Cox. He's going to see this develop just in front of him. He's got to make a split-second decision. Gets on the brakes, decides to go low, misses the first part of it. But they're not done yet, as you see further up. Some contact right there. Not sure what exactly happened to cause that one. Just maybe guys all trying to check up for the wreck, and fortunately a couple guys maybe not quite getting the memo in time. And yeah, unfortunately Dustin Carruthers caught up in that one, but definitely didn't look like he really got any damage. So let's take one more shot of this. Was it Matthew Baker, or was it maybe Danny Barnes that he got tagged by? Looks like it was the 7 machine. I believe normally we see that go to Danny Barnes, but may not have been who's running that tonight. Just slides in. Yeah, really not too many places to go. That was Nash Brambilla, actually, who slid in. And so no real damage there, just a loss of track position. But the big wreck, which was out back, was the one that caught everybody off guard and ultimately brings out the second caution of the night. Final view here from the wall cam. And some of these guys hit really, really hard. The 24 and maybe the 59 most notably, but all in all, it may still only actually take one fast spare. Tucker McClendon did a phenomenal job getting through that one. But now we're going to turn the lead over a little bit. A little bit of strategy coming into play now with 14 laps complete. And new leader, about the 92 machine of John Ward, trying to see if he can capture a win here tonight. Payout's pretty good, and the driver out of Valdosta, Georgia, with a good run up to this point. Zach Range in second, Jeff Merck in third, Michael Triscaro back in fourth, Kevin Freeze in fifth, Cody Nagel 6th, Garrett Maines in 7th, Matt Lee 8th, Andrew Navarro in 9th, and Dylan Jones rounding out your top 10. Malik Ray just outside in 11th. Matthew Baker 12th, Justin Mills 13th, J.R. Miller in 14th. David Sheets in 15th with Richard Elliott 16th, James Thurston in 17th. Tony Cox 18th, Dustin Crothers 19th, and Chad Ross, the Team 3 captain, sits on the pits right now, currently rounding out your top 20. So as they get back lined up, looks like they do indeed get the 1-to-go signal. Means we're getting ready to go back green, and just in time, Dawson Wise has arrived on scene. Dawson, we've had some pretty crazy racing up to this point, but now that we got you here, I'm thinking things are going to get a whole lot crazier. How you doing tonight?
Good. I love these cars, first of all. I have gotten to watch some of it, and it's exactly what I expected. Most of my super speedway experiences in these cars. I love them, love the racing. It's crazy, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like the next gens on a whole nother level. So I'm excited to see the end portion of this race and what these guys do with these cars.
Well, we got a couple people tuning in chat. Good to see everybody watching the race, but hey, it's Dina says, let's go. Nash Brambilla, Baker's mom says, let's go, guys. Have a good one. And there you go. Like, share, and follow. Make sure to do it if you enjoy it. We certainly appreciate it. Yeehaw says, how about Steven Scott, 77? He doing any good? Well, certainly is up to this point now. The track position maybe not doing Steven Scott any justice. We don't see him as much as some of these other guys, but you saw him make that bold move. He jumped to the bottom. It looked like it was going to work, but unfortunately he chose not to use the fast pair. And when you have a damaged car, Dawson, a lot of guys don't like to help you out too much in the 77. Unfortunately for him, that rear bumper is still pretty banged up. He's not going to be easy to push, so until he gets that damage either completely repaired or uses a fast repair, I don't think he's going to get much help here the rest of the way.
No, probably not. These cars aren't quite like our modern cars, so I remember right. Not as easy to repair, not as fast when you do get them repaired, so damage a lot more costly for some of these guys running up towards the front of the field. But again, man, the racing makes it worth it.
Yeah, these certainly run a lot like the next gens, but yeah, I agree. In terms of the damage, a lot of people refer to the next gens as tanks because you can bang them up in a lot of places as long as you don't break the suspension. Not so much the case on these. In fact, so much so that we already saw some damage on the front bumpers just from how hard some of these guys are pushing. I don't think that's the last time we will see that here today. All right, here we go. 15, going to be 16 now. Laps completed when we cross the start-finish line. John Ward and Zach Rain, first time on the front row. Green flag back in the air. And through the gears, it's a smooth start for the 92 range. Able to hold pretty even now. We've seen everybody on the bottom so far. And by everybody, I mean Garrett Maines, because he's been the man leading every restart up to this point. Quickly jump up to the top, but nothing doing yet. Ward's going to have to settle for the inside. Jeff Merck pushing with all he's got, but there you go. Cody Nagels, look at a split series owner, Michael Triscaro. Triscaro now works his way up the track. Boy, they cut them a big break, Dawson. They could have almost split the 34 there, but they chose to go with them, and now they're going to stay even down the backstretch.
Well, that's the thing with these cars and the runs the way they are is now Ward's going to get split in the middle here. He's got one car in behind him, and on the bottom, here comes the run. And Garrett Maines, right as we talked about the pushing that he can do, he's all the way down on the bottom side, leading that pushing line, leading with Kevin Freeze down there. They hang John Ward and Jeff Merck in the middle of the racetrack, and this is really weird. Only two cars in the middle, but look at this. Merck's doing a great job. They're holding their own, but it's all Kevin Freeze, Garrett Maines up front. I believe they're going to migrate to the wall right here.
Yeah, I mean, when you have two cars tandem up, there's a good chance you can hang even for a little bit. You need more help to make progress, but similar to the next gens, you really only need two to make the dream work. That's exactly what they're doing, but eventually that 60 car, he's going to get hot. He'll have to bail out, and you see now Cody Nagels looking to come to the aid, followed by Matt Lee in the middle. Mark Von Dell, one of the lappers, going to pull off track here. Doesn't want to get in the way, but a lot of Dyson in the middle of the pack. All this disorganization has now allowed Kevin Freeze and Garrett Maines to start to pull away up top.
Yeah, no surprise here. Everybody up against the wall, and no surprise that the tandem is what's working up front. These cars, when you get them tandem together, they're even better than the next gens, in my opinion. They really can roll when you're tandem together. Now, that's what Cody Nagels is going to try to do on the bottom here with Jeff Merck. You're going to see him try to do, well, I thought you were going to see him try to do what Garrett Maines and Kevin Freeze did, but now he just jumps in line and single file here. Top 8 in line, make it 9. That's a crazy hornet's nest back there around Nagels, Justin Mills, Matt Lee, several others. But look at the pushing up front. Garrett Maines, they're top 8 clear, and they're still pushing hard here on the back straightaway.
3 wide, quickly clears to 2. Man, what a move that was right there by John Ward. Brambilla tried to jump up. Ward said no, thank you. Quickly jumped back down, and they're just going to, I mean, this is, I know we keep comparing them to the next gens, Dawson, but I mean, all the movement we're seeing back and forth, up and down. I mean, these guys have got to get organized, or they could be in danger of losing this lead draft, which is very organized up top. Still being led by Kevin Freeze, Garrett Maines, and Andrew Navarro. Malik Ray way. I mean, this is a strong group of 4 guys. Zach Range, but just as I start to say something, don't look now. Here comes Matthew Baker. Cody Nagels on the bottom. They're getting some assistance right now from Matt Lee and a couple others.
Yeah, Matthew Baker was very excited to run this race. He's like me, loves these race cars. I love the way these things race. Now you see Navarro. Is he going to jump to the bottom? No, he's going to jump to the middle. Tries to bring one car with him. I believe that might be Range back there in the Logitech machine, the black and blue machine, at least on my end. But now the bottom is rolling. Look at all the help they got down there now. And even for the lead, here comes Matthew Baker in the 5. Kevin Freeze down alongside him to try to side draft. That side draft is very dominant, but not going to help when the 2 cars are tandem together. Oh, big trouble almost off turn 4. Matthew Baker saves it somehow.
Wow, Kevin Freeze may have just cut Baker the biggest break he will all race and still almost wrecked him. That was an absolute last-second clear by Matthew Baker, and he got away with one that time, but man, I don't think Kevin Freeze will be so nice next time. Just too big of a run, Dawson. You got to be really, really careful with the moves you try to make, especially when you think you're clear, because we know how quickly that gap closes up. You think you're tandem with the guy, all of a sudden, oh, big movement up front. Nagels and Lee all over the place. These things are hard to control, but they continue to show just how fast and tough they are to drive as they hit 205 miles an hour down the back straightaway.
Well, and it's rewarding for guys that are good pushers. So guys like Cody Nagels, guys like Matt Lee, guys like Garrett Maines, guys that know how to push are going to be extra good in these kinds of cars because they reward pushers more than the other NASCAR sanctioned cars do. You saw it right there with Matt Lee when they got to the yellow line and they had no side draft. They were able to just basically get tandem together and do everything themselves with 2 cars. You can't say that about any other car for the most part, maybe besides the next gens, but really you need 3 to even do anything with those cars as well. These cars are so dynamic, so crazy, so fun to drive, and man, no surprise here, the man of the hour, the man of the week, the man of several weeks. I think of a 4 in a row time PGR winner now. Cody Nagels goes to the point in 3. Baker in the top line coming back on the top side though.
You talk about the PGR wins. I don't know if that's what he's thinking about right now, Dawson. We know what he did last night. I think that's the biggest thing on his mind. Another big block from Matthew Baker. Stacking up out back. Ward goes around. Does he save it? He does. Further back, everybody's got to check up. Bails out of line, and holy cow, that was a close one, but they all keep it together. Everybody saves it as they work back on track. This will cause some separation, but up front, still 3 wide, about 3 rows deep towards the middle of this front group. But now it is Matthew Baker being pushed by Malik Ray out in front. Kevin Freeze in the middle as the gap starts to close. Navarro will jump to the bottom as well. We're starting to see some separation now between probably about the top 20 and the rest of the field.
There's not even a break to take a breath during this racing. Baker up across Navarro. He blocks the top side. Gets a nice push here into 3. It's Ray and Freeze in the middle. They've got Garrett Maines and Jeff Merck who made their way back to the front. Almost trouble there with Malik Ray. He had to save that car in the middle. Look at how hard Kevin Freeze is pushing. Middle's coming. Bottom's coming as well. How about Logan York in the 36? He leads the bottom side now. Looks pretty good in these race cars. Baker down across the middle. That opens the door for Navarro. Are we going to go 4 wide? I think we are right here at the line. Do they keep it together? Baker's going the wrong way in a hurry.
Yeah, that was just 1 block too much, and now they're starting to bump and bang. It's not going to work. They're going to wreck. Looks like Jeff Merck's in this one. Do they save it? Well, they kind of, nope, sliding back up the 35. They just miss him. I believe, was that James Thurston? No, but he sneaks by.
Brock Westmoreland in the 35.
Brock Westmoreland, yeah, man. That was a close one, though. He's lucky to have not got hit, so they're just going to lose track position and maybe get a couple bumps and bruises from this, Dawson. But, I mean, you knew it was a matter of time, and Baker was certainly looking fast out there, but I think he threw just 1 too many blocks. Malik said, I think that's enough for now. Split them 4 wide, and it's just too tight sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of knew that was disaster waiting to happen, especially when Jeff Merck went to pick up Matthew Baker in the 3rd lane out of 4 there. Just with the way these cars move around and the way they really get out of hand in the corner, especially when you're getting pushed, yeah, that was bound to happen right there in the middle.
It certainly was, and trying to get a little bit of a look back. It almost looked like initially there. Maybe they didn't make contact at first. Watch the 35 of Brock Westmoreland on the top. You know, there is definitely some contact right there. It looks like up by the wall, maybe thinking they're 3 wide. Brock starts to creep down a little bit here, and Merck just creeps up a little bit as well. And again, when you're 4 wide, there's not much room to move around, and as they did that, they get together, they make contact. Trevor tries to check up, not in time. Gets back into the back of Brock Westmoreland. That sends him down into Merck. J.R. Miller somehow does a tightrope act to miss this. Even has to get on the brakes to not spin out. And you see John Ward jump into the bottom here. He's somehow also able to miss the calamity of this. And then, man, got really nervous when you saw the 35 coming back up the track. Usually that's where you see the big wrecks happen, but everybody was able to miss it, so we continue on with, again, not really any torn up race cars, just a couple of guys that are going to have to go to the back and try to make their way back to the front.
Yeah, I'm surprised we got away with it the way we did there. Usually, again, with just the way these cars race, how close they were together, and just, again, how on the edge of control they are. You think since they're glued to the ground that they're pretty easy to control. That is not the case by any means. When you're in a line like that, everybody's pushing, and the arrow on these cars is wicked, and I'm surprised right there that we got away with a smaller wreck than I thought we were going to get away with.
Certainly did. Well, up front now, looks like it is going to be Trevor Ostronoff being scored as your leader. Everybody else brought it down to the pits, and they're well in the window now to note, Dawson. So this pit stop, this will get him the rest of the way, or at least I believe it should. Yeah, this should definitely get him the rest of the way, unless these cars have a much smaller fuel tank than what we expect. But assuming that you're good to go the rest of the way right here, I mean, I think it's a smart choice. Come in, take fuel, maybe some tires, and get ready for this next 18 to 20 lap run, because it's going to be pretty crazy. I mean, we've already seen the racing we've had up to this point, and now that we are well over halfway through this race, the money that's on the line starts to become a factor. Guys start to get a little bit more impatient, and I think some of the blocks that we saw earlier by guys such as Baker maybe aren't going to fly as easily anymore. But speaking of payouts, let's take a look at what they are here on the night. Now, this was based off of 45 entries. Did come up about 10 short, but all in all, for the people that don't watch this as much, that is really impressive considering that these aren't the bread and butter for most guys. These are the Gen 6 cars, so still a very big field here tonight, all things considered, and probably going to be somewhere around 164 to first, 148 to second, 132 to third, 116 to fourth, 96 to fifth, $34 to sixth.
Good payouts, like you said, for a car that is not bread and butter. I don't think I've seen this car run consistently in super speedway communities since, late 2021. That's about when the next gen car really started to come into fruition, was early 2022. So I haven't really seen this car run in a big race like this in 2 years, basically. So crazy to see it back on track, but again, not a car a lot of guys have experience in, and you still have 36 cars on the racetrack. That's an impressive crowd.
And on, I guess I should say, the good side of that, right? Not much experience, and the racing has still been phenomenal. So hats off to everybody for coming in here, getting a little bit of practice, and putting on the great product that we get to show you guys watching at home. And, of course, we appreciate all the viewers tuning in, rooting on their favorite driver. And right now, Trevor Ostronoff looking to maybe make it upset number 2 here if he can get the job done tonight. But 20 laps to go here. We're going to get the one to go right here, so it should be 19 to go when we get the green flag. And he's still got a lot of really heavy hitters that he's got to hold off the rest of the way. But taking a look here through the field, through some of the guys in the top 5, Logan York, no surprise to see him up here. See if we can get a quick word with the driver currently sitting in that 5th position. Hey Logan, this is Austin and Dawson up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin and Dawson.
Well, so far, so good. You got yourself up here in the top 10 and now inside the top 5. First time you're going to have a chance to really show us what you can do on the pushing end. What's the game plan here with 20 laps to go?
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't expecting to be up here this early. This is my second ever race in this car, so I'm just trying to figure out like how it works and everything. I got Malik a little loose when I was pushing him, so I learned a lot pushing him. But yeah, my game plan is just to ride here and learn as much as I can, maybe go to the back if it gets a little too tense.
Well, we know how nice it is to get a win in any series, but when you come to a series that usually is known for running the trucks and all of a sudden we're running a different car, does it make you want to win that much more to say that you did something that nobody else had a chance to do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's always nice to win in a variety of cars. Just kind of makes you feel better about your abilities.
All right, well, we appreciate you giving us a quick word. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll see if we're talking to you at the end of this thing.
Of course.
All right, and there you go. Logan York, driver, the number 36, proving all the points that we are getting ready to see here. And how about in chat? There you go. Kevin Nagel says, let's go champ, a.k.a. Cody. And I don't know, Dawson, you think Cody is, you think he's feeling pretty confident right now?
I think he is supremely confident right now. 4 straight PGR wins and now a win in what he would say is the biggest win of his career last night. Yeah, I would be pretty confident, so I'm sure he is supremely confident right now.
We're about to find out here because he's lining up on the inside And he has got Trevor Osronoff on his outside. Pace car makes the hard left turn. 19 laps to go at NASCAR's fastest track, Talladega Superspeedway. The final race for FEG sponsored for. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. A little bit of a checkup on the bottom. Bigger checkup on the outside. Everybody trying to hold it together. Carruthers has to step out of line to miss it, as does McClendon. Man, what a checkup that was. I think everybody does save it, but that's really going to hurt the bottom here, it looks like, as it has disintegrated. Malik Ray stuck to the back of Cody Naegels, doing all he can do. They're going to drag race as they work their way onto the backstretch.
Well, it's going to hurt the guys further back for a moment, but not for very long. Here comes Malik Ray. He wants to lead. He goes to the outside, and look who comes through the middle. Garrett Maines in the one. What a huge run he has, and that's what I was just going to say. Those guys that got stacked up and ended up further back are going to have monster runs. That's one of the big characteristics of this car. The runs, because of that big wicker bill on the back end, along with the big rear spoiler, give you a huge run to the car in front of you when you're a certain distance behind them. That's what creates some of these big, huge haymaker moves we've seen throughout the night so far, and these guys certainly profiting off of it. How about Malik Ray, Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro? How about Michael Triscaro? He peels all the way back through the field. He's fourth here in turn one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm trying to watch the front of the field, but I'm too fixated on what's going on out back and in the middle. I mean, we got guys scrambling all over the place. Now we got one wrecking, big one. One upside down. The 42 goes over once and a half. As they, we got another one upside down here, sliding to a halt. Can't even tell who that is yet.
Caution is out. Caution is out.
And somebody, is that, I can't even tell who that is, Dawson. We got one stuck upside down over here. And that's Mike Davenport in the 55. It's definitely not the way that car's supposed to be, but go to the cockpit view as he's going to just tow it immediately. We were waiting for the big one, and that certainly was right there. That tore up a lot of good race cars. You see a couple guys trying to lift it back. Joe Herta, I think, was the car that we initially saw flip. Let's go back and take a look at where everything went wrong. And, you know, I was just mentioning that I was fixated on the back. There was just so much stuff going on. Again, up front, they were pretty organized in the moves. Kind of made sense. Back here, it was just the mad scramble, bottom, back. Wherever you could find a spot. And eventually something had to give, and it did in a pretty big way. We're going to go to the TV follow view first, see if we can figure out exactly where this thing starts. I believe it might actually start up around the Kevin Freeze area. Not sure if Kevin himself was involved initially. And the 5, is that where the stack up is, or is it going to be further back here with Baker? There's a stack up with Baker, but again, they're all fine here. They look like they all save it. Oh, it's with the 55 of Mike Davenport. That's where it actually starts. And he gets onto the apron here. The question is how? As we play this again for you, watch 55. He's on the bottom. Ooh, it's a little bit of a stack up coming. John Ward has, looks like the 99 on his rear bumper, doesn't want to run into the back of Davenport, so he tries to pull high, but clips Davenport in the right rear. That sends Davenport down onto the apron. He tries to save it, makes an overcorrection, and back up into the field. Tony Cox, Chad Ross, and John Herta with nowhere to go. Look at the 42 get up and over as he gets actually into the catch fence. Second car we've seen that happen to tonight. And then there goes Davenport upside down. He wasn't quite as fortunate to be able to get it flipped back over. And I mean, how about the idea, Dawson, that the 42 was able to continue to drive to the pits after flying into the fence?
Yeah, I remember a time when you would not be able to do that a couple of years ago. So lucky for him, they've changed the damage on these cars enough that he can drive all the way back to the pit lane. But man, a monster crash there in 1 and 2. I thought Mike Davenport had it saved. I really did. Gets clipped by John Ward, and as he comes back up on the banking, probably should have kept it on the apron. That little like transition there between the apron and the banking was too much. The car whipped around on him, and he could not save it from there. That is a violent wreck over there in 1 and 2.
Absolutely. And, you know, of course, in his defense, it's that split-second decision that we all try to make. And sometimes it's the right decision. Sometimes it isn't. Looked initially like maybe he had a chance to save it. But as you just said, Dawson, it doesn't take much. Sometimes that splitter catches on that transition, and it shoots you straight back up the track no matter what you try to do. So just a kind of an unfortunate scenario right there. Took out a couple of good cars, but you know, everybody's got a fast spread. They'll be fine to go back at it here again, but anybody that doesn't could be a night ender. And there you see Tony Cox, left front destroyed. He had the tow, so that'll be his fast spread gone. There's a couple others sneak by as well. Back up front, though, Garrett Maines being scored as your leader. Not the first time or the last time that you'll probably hear us saying that here tonight. Andrew Navarro back in second, Cody Naegels third, Malik Ray in fourth, and Matt Lee rounding out your top 5. We're going to go take a quick break, but you won't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega.
Front, now we're going to see a little 4-wide action. Crazy out of the triangle.
Oh, he gets in the lead on the record.
3x3 entering 4.
3-2.
At the flag stand, side by side, it's going to be Jason Maines winning at Talladega.
Coming back to the green flag, 14 laps to go in PGR ESPORTS tonight in Talladega. The Gen 6 cars put on a show so far, still a long way to go. Garrett Maines brings us into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air and up through the gears. Once again, Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro will race off towards turn number 1. The push will be on the top. Maines too far out front. Malik Ray pushing hard on the outside on Andrew Navarro.
Well, we were talking about the break, Dawson. This is where the big players start to come out. The big moves start to be made, and here we go. We're starting to see a couple guys maybe we haven't seen here tonight making their way to the front. How about David Sheets in the 06? First time now breaking into the top 5. He's got a beautiful looking car, and he's looking to see if he can get it in victory lane. He'll jump to the outside. The third lane is rolling now. Trevor Osbornoff in the middle, but he doesn't have any help. Cody Nagels on the bottom with Matt Lee, Kevin Freeze in tandem. First time we've seen 3 cars tandem. Look at the run they've got. Nagels will get clear. Lee gets clear. Freeze not quite. Will they jump up off of number 4?
Oh, no, they're going to stay on the bottom. They wanted to drag Kevin Freeze with them. Now they're still tandem together. Look at the run that the 6 and the 04 have. They're pulling away on a super speedway. Now they jump to the wall. Does Maines go to the middle? Yes, he does. Does anybody go with him? Yes, Andrew Navarro and Malik Ray both go with him. Nagels and Lee have the dominant lineup against the outside wall, but Maines has the help in the middle. Freeze has the help of York on the bottom. A couple others starting to come to the front. Richard Elliott, Michael Triscaro, J.R. Miller, and David Sheets in line behind them. Maines leads halfway down the backstretch.
Well, I don't know if you saw right there, Dawson. Garrett almost got turned coming out of turn number 2. Navarro locked on. They hit 207 miles an hour before they dove into turn number 3 just then. But look at the tandems working now. 2 cars is a lot. 3 is even more. But, man, what we're seeing now, I don't want to be leading this race. Oh, one gets turned. Looks like he's going to save it. That was Logan York off the front bumper of David Sheets. But I was getting ready to say, Dawson, with how strong the tandem is, I don't want to be leading on the last lap. I want to be the guy tandeming the leader on the last lap.
Well, it's similar to the next gens where you don't want to be the guy in first, you want to be the guy in second. These cars are a lot harder to defend that move as well than the next gen because the runs are so big and the side draft is so effective, especially on that left rear quarter panel. So I wouldn't want to be the leader either. In fact, I wouldn't want to be trouble. Further back, I believe, I couldn't tell which car that was. It was a yellow and black car about halfway back in the field. He's going to hammer the inside wall. And no caution. I think we're going to stay green, single file, 10 deep here at the front.
That was David Sheets in the 06 who spun. We're going to try to take just a quick look at this. Hopefully they don't wreck in the 2 seconds that we try to view it in. Yikes. Yeah, just a stack up, and then him and Baker get together. Turns the 06 tank slapper into the inside wall, and as you mentioned, no caution. So we stay green as we go back up front, and now we're starting to see that long single file draft train up top. Garrett Maines acting as the Pied Piper of Daytona right now. The 11 of Malik Ray, he is in another good position. Will Kevin Freeze think about making a move with the 11 to 34 of Michael Trescaro, Dylan Jones? A lot of strong contenders up here, but we're again starting to see a little bit of a break now as we have 2 to 3 packs starting to develop. But the main one up front is now Dustin Carruthers looks to the middle, but Cody Nagels still on the bottom with Matt Lee and Jeff Merck. Can they tandem up the way they did with Kevin Freeze, and can they get back to the front?
That bottom line is really starting to move now, and they are all the way inside the top 5. They've got a whale of a run here on turn 4. Matt Lee has been the all-star pusher, and again he tandems to the back of his former teammate Cody Nagels. Side draft, tight racing here on the tri-oval. Maine's perfect defense there. Back out to the wall he goes with Navarro and Malik Ray and Kevin Freeze. The bottom will have to reset, but now they have Dylan Jones in tow as well. I believe that's Dustin Carruthers in the middle. The green and yellow car, first time I've seen him up front tonight. Nagels thought about going with him there off turn number 2, but now goes back to the help of Matt Lee on the bottom. Can anybody get anything going here for Maines and Navarro with the front?
Well, I'll tell you what, Dawson, I think what they need to do on the bottom right there, and this is just kind of a guess based off what we've seen in the next gens, is if they can get 3 cars tandemed up at once, Osmanoff goes off there. Going to save it? Oh, they're going to wreck. The 2 goes down across the track, and they all come back up. The big one, part 2 strikes with 10 to go at Talladega. And they're still wrecking. The 24 gets in this one yet again. John Ward's going to sneak by. I was just getting ready to say, Dawson, to break the side draft. If they had 310 up on the bottom, it might have worked, but they didn't quite make it that far. And now this will send us into a restart with probably around 5 laps to go in this race. Let's go back and take a look at what gets this one sparked. I think it's Trevor getting hit off the track, but not sure what exactly bumped him off. And then the wreck's going to start not too far behind. So you see the 89. Wow, boy, was that an aggressive move. Oh, my goodness. I got to assume he got some help right here. Watch the 89. He's in the middle. He's got the 2 just behind him. And, yeah, he definitely sees Carruthers come down. And then just behind there was nothing Devin Ray could do to check up in time. So he gets into the rear. Trevor Osranoff, then as Osranoff goes down, they don't quite get 4 wide. It almost looks that way for a second, but Chad Ross, is he getting a little bit of a push right here from the 99? That's what we're trying to figure out. And, yeah, Devin Ray, as he stacks up, I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah, he does. He gets tapped in the left rear by the 99 as a result of the checkup. Gets down into Matt Lee, and then once they make contact, Lee gets back up the track into Chad Ross and Devin Ray, and then the wreck's on from here as Devin Ray gets sent down the track. They're going to all slide up, and some of these guys start hitting really hard. Matt Lee, J.R. Miller further back, who'd been having such a good night, missing all the wrecks. Joshua Watson runs into the back of Tucker McClendon with nowhere to go. And that's just kind of what we see at plate track racing, especially at the end of these races.
Yeah, it's about how it gets here late in the going. There's several really high caliber guys in this one. Matt Lee had just gotten back to the front with Cody Nagels after that race start, pinned him back in the field, and he's involved. Jeff Merck is involved in this one as well in the 60. Obviously, Devin Ray gets involved. Several others. Another really sizable incident. Brock Westmoreland involved as well. That's a lot of the field. I only saw about 9 cars come off turn number 4 right there, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, you saw Richard Elliott get in that as well with nowhere to go. And then, I think Justin Mills actually somehow was able to roll the dice and miss this wreck, or at least a majority of the damage from it. Let's go back and take an onboard view here with the 4 car. He sees it, dives low, holds it low. Wow, he doesn't hit anyone through this wreck somehow. Even as Lee slides down at the last second. Good piece of driving right there from Justin Mills to avoid getting what would have potentially been race-ending damage. Nicely done there as we take one more look here from the wall cam. And if this would have happened further up front, Dawson, this certainly could have been a lot bigger of a wreck than it was, but I mean, as you said, collectively, probably collected more guys than it didn't. So the big one, part 2, with 9 laps to go, is going to probably retire a couple more cars from this race. Looks like Sean Corbett, along with Richard Elliott, Tony Cox, now 2 laps down. A lot of guys that had a shot at this. No more, as with 8 to go, it is Garrett Maines being scored as your leader, Andrew Navarro in second. That duo has been working really good together here tonight. We'll see if that stands the rest of the way. Malik Ray in third, Kevin Freese fourth, and Dustin Carruthers rounding out your top 5.
The X factor here, I think, is Malik Ray. It's going to be interesting to see if he decides to stay with Navarro and Garrett or if he decides to go for it himself. Dustin Carruthers as well, making his first appearance here inside the top 5. Want to see where he wants to go on this. And then behind them, it just completely reset the field. Zach Range, James Thurston, Trevor Osbornoff, Kenny McCullough, Justin Mills all coming forward. Same with Kenny Reel, same with Matthew Baker. So a lot of guys that weren't in a great spot before in a decent spot now because of that wreck shuffling up the field a little bit. They were able to get by it. And with the runs in these cars, basically anyone inside about the top 15 or 20 cars still has a shot to win this race, just the way that this racing has unfolded. So I'm excited to see where those guys want to go here. It's going to be plenty of real estate to work with.
You got to give a tip of the cap to James Thurston. I mean, what a job he's done tonight. Comes in here, no teammates. One of the first races we've seen him in, and he is in 8th, running top 10, up 10 from where he started, in a field of the best super speedway drivers you're going to find on the platform. So nicely done to him. And then you look even further back here, we got a couple other guys with a good shot at this thing. Kenny Reel back in 15th. All he needs is a little bit of help here, and he could be a dangerous man by the end of this race. Mark Vondell showing a lot of aggression here tonight. It's paying off. We'll see how this thing goes at the end for him. John Ward, Nashper, and Billa. Watch for those two to get hooked up. And then Steven Scott Jr., who looks like did decide to take that fast repair. Now that he's got that, we'll see if he can get some more help back to the front. He's got a couple of good guys behind him there. And Matt Lee and J.R. Miller. Ryan Bass, can't forget about him. About Jack Hignite. I mean, it's a strong field, Dawson, and while we've had maybe a handful or so had to retire, we still got a lot of guys with a chance to win this race. But Garrett Maines and Malik Ray, that's 2 Coke Series drivers. Do you see them working together the entire rest of the way, or do you see one of them trying to make a move on the other to win this thing?
Well, I'll tell you what, it kind of goes back to last night in the ERA race at Daytona, where I thought for sure that Michael Guest and Malik Ray were working together, and then on a restart with ironically, about 7 or 8 laps to go, Malik Ray got hung in the middle. And, you know, those allegiances last until this point in the race, and at some point Malik is going to have to try to win it for himself. Does he do it right here? I don't know, but I don't know if you can fully trust him here if you're Garrett Maines to just stay on the back bumper and push you.
Now, Malik and Navarro don't have a specific team they're working on. Important to note, a couple of the few guys up there that aren't on an actual team, so maybe they work together, but I'm not sure, because I think I looked to see Maines jump up, and I think him and Navarro are going to try to stick together here, at least as long as they can for the rest of this race. It'll be 6 laps to go, but we still got to make it around this 2.65-mile oval 5 more times before this race would be official at the drop of the white flag. So here we go. Maines and Navarro, row 1. Malik Ray and Kevin Freese, row 2. Green flag is back in the air. Who's going to win the money tonight? Stack up on the inside. And that inside did not get going, but Maines got clear. He's trying to pull Malik. It's not going to be enough. Watch for Garrett to jump up here as Navarro starts rolling, but Malik was able to tandem, and actually Navarro's going to jump down. They're going to maybe try to pull all 3 of themselves clear as they work through 1 and 2.
Oh, but it's not working. It's getting awkward. Navarro had to go back up there. He could not leave them on the bottom. Maines leaves Malik on the bottom, and now Malik Ray all of a sudden has some help. He's got a convoy that's come with him here on the bottom in the form of Carruthers, Nagels, and others. We're double file for the lead, headed to 3. 6 to go. Here comes the middle. Matthew Baker starts to split cars. He's making things work back there around P12. He starts to make his way forward. 2 wide and 3. Ray Carruthers. Oh, they're getting really dicey here at the front. Malik Ray has to save it off 4. It's still all Garrett Maines and Andrew Navarro.
Yeah, there's no way they can do this for another 5 laps. I mean, they are going at it, and further back, we've got 4 wide. It looks like Ken McCullough Jr. gets split. Nashper and Bill on his inside, 35 on the outside. Now they're bumping. They're banging. They all save it for the moment. Brock Westman, they are still 4 wide back here. They're going to run out of room if they're not careful. It's now Justin Mills washes up. Still 4 wide off of turn 2. A lot of guys getting out of shape. I think they're all going to keep it together, so as we go back up front, now the cat and mouse game of chess starts to play out. And do you wonder here, Dawson, if you're all these guys in this front pack, do you kind of make an agreement to stay up top, stay single file, and see if you can't pull away from the rest of the field, or do you start going for it right now?
You could try, but I think some of these guys running like 8th, 9th position are probably going to have to just go for it. I don't think they're going to be able to benefit much if the laps continue to tick down like where Matthew Baker is in 9th right now. I think that's a little bit too far back. I think you can run away for a moment here. I don't think you can fully run away because now, if you look behind them, that second group has gotten it together and they're single file up against the wall. They're dragging about 10 more cars into this race. I think he's got to start thinking about going. Malik Ray's pulling that group back to him. You got to go right here. I think if you're back around Cody Nagels, Matthew Baker, Zach Range, Malik Ray, I think you got to start going now.
Yeah, and the group behind them, which was being led here by Kenny Real, I mean, they're still trying to get it sorted out, so they're not careful. They're in pretty grave danger here of losing this lead pack. You just got to eventually, at a certain point, decide that the racing is no longer worth it because, oh, and just as I say it, caution's out. Take a guess where this one's going to come from at the back of the pack. Looks like it's the one of Joshua Watson and Jeff Merck. And both of those guys have been involved in a couple wrecks here tonight. Doesn't look like a ton of damage, at least from the initial view. But Joshua Watson, can't tell if he's got some on the... Ooh, he might have some on the right rear. And just as we were talking about, there was just too much going on there in the back for those guys to really have any chance at catching up, and much less finish this race clean. So let's see exactly what happens here as we go towards the back. Joshua Watson, last car on the inside, looking for Jeff Merck, second to last car on the outside. And ooh, that's just really unfortunate timing, Dawson. I'll get your take on this here in just a minute, but it looks to me like right as John Ward's working his way up to make the move, there's a stack up. Merck's got to bail, I mean, just ever so slightly. And as a result, Ward wasn't clear when he decides to commit to the move, and therefore he clips Jeff Merck, and that's going to send Merck down into the 77 of Steven Scott Jr., who was saving that fast pro to avoid an incident like this. Unfortunately, though, as he goes back up, gets tagged pretty hard there in the left rear by John Ward, and Joshua Watson, Jeff Merck go for a couple of pretty harmless pirouettes, it looks like, but definitely a tough break right there.
Yeah, I think that's all it is a tough break. I think you hit it on the head with just looks like rough timing, kind of a bad set of circumstances. And again, it just kind of lends to the runs that these cars get. A lot of these guys aren't used to that, I don't think, and haven't really prepared for it, or it takes a little bit faster instincts in these cars to know when that checkup's going to happen, because it is a lot worse of a checkup than in any of the other cars we're used to running, especially the Craftsman trucks. So just a product of this racing, a product of this package, but also just kind of an unfortunate set of circumstances there.
Certainly was, but tell you what, amongst the wrecks, I mean, I know we've had 6, all things considered. The racing itself has been phenomenal. I mean, I would certainly like to see more of these cars, if not get in one of these racing incidents get in one of these races myself. But how about Garrett Maines up front, Andrew Navarro back in second, Kevin Freese in third, Michael Triscaro fourth, and James Thurston now rounding out your top 5. I'm telling you, Dawson, that might be our underdog here on the night if he can keep it up. He's up 13 with a good shot at it here with what's going to be our first of 3 green-white checkers. Dylan Jones back in 7th, Matthew Baker 8th, Malik Ray in 9th, and Zach Range rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, when it comes to Thurston, I mean, yeah, he's up here, great for him. The problem is now so many guys look for teammates on these restarts, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Chris Parkman win that we saw a few months back, where he had no teammates, ended up at the front and just kind of held his line. Didn't really do anything too outlandish, just kept the car straight, made friends where he could find them, and ended up in victory lane. It's reminded me a lot of that, but man, what a race this has been. I told you when I got in here, I love these cars. I always have. It's kind of where I got my start doing this kind of racing. So, hold a special spot to me. I love this kind of racing. It's intense, it's fun, and it's a stressful workout for these guys up front, especially with the runs and then the moves the way they are.
Certainly is. Well, we got a couple more people in the chat. Good to see everybody out here. Baker's mom, Shirley Cox, rooting on Tony as well. Kevin Egel says Ward just drove right up into Merck, and yeah, certainly what it looked like there. Again, we think what happened there was Ward was trying to get clear, maybe thought he was going to be clear, and a little bit of a checkup on the outside. Merck had to bail out of the throttle, and unfortunately Merck just the innocent victim as Ward kind of hooked him. But again, nothing anybody was trying to do intentionally, and good to see Chris M. Sim Racing in here being negative as always. Hope you guys are having a good night. 3 laps to go. Again, going to be our first overtime. We're going to take one more break. We'll be right back at Talladega. Stick with us for the finish.
front. Now we're going to see a little four wide action. Crazy out of the trial.
Oh, he gets in the lead on the wreck.
3 by 3 entering
3-2.
At the flag stand, side by side, it's going to be Jason Maines winning it at Talladega.
Green-white checkered attempt number 1. About to go green here from Talladega to the third caution of the night. Garrett Maines, Andrew Navarro on the front row. Ready to get this one back underway. If we get to the white flag, this race is official. 2 more attempts remain if we should use them. Here we go. On the restart. Again, Maines, Navarro front row. Freeze, Triscaro second row. Into the trial they go. Coming back to the green flag. We're going to get back underway. We're down to crunch time. 2 laps to go. Green flag is going to come out. Green-white checkered attempt number 1 is green, and away goes Garrett Maines. Is that too good a restart here for the one on the bottom?
No, I think it was just right because we know exactly what he wants to do. He wants to jump up, and what he'd really like to do right here is try to pull Kevin Freeze with him. That put James Thurston in a beautiful position coming to the white flag, but everything's got to play out just right, and we know that's not going to happen. But right now, side by side off of turn 2, there's the big surge from the bottom. Garrett Maines is going to get clear to the top. Does he try to pull Kevin Freeze with him? He doesn't. He's going to stay on the bottom for now. Now Navarro starts to surge back. There's the block. Garrett moves up to the top. Navarro, no extra move. Further back, Malik's going to jump up top 2 into turn 3. It's a drag race.
Back to the white flag they come. If they get back through these last 2 corners, we're going to finish it right here. Off turn number 4, still Garrett Maines. Nagel's loose in the middle. Where does Triscaro go in all this? He's going to hang middle for now. Matthew Baker up on the top side with Malik Ray. How about Thurston? He hangs out Freeze. White flag as they pass the line.
He does, and he jumped up just in time. He almost got himself split, but now he's in a great position. And I'm telling you, Dawson, Navarro and Maines, they're getting too far out. I know they're trying to tandem away, but they just tried to do it too early. I don't think Navarro's got the temps to push him the rest of the way. They're wrecking out back, but up front, this thing is not over now. Thurston gets split as Triscaro jumps to the bottom. Malik goes back up top. Baker stays with Triscaro. Maybe this will come down to 2 cars because they continue to battle out back. There's no run. The question is, how long does Navarro stay tucked before he makes the move? More contact, but here we go. Thurston and Malik, they're going to have a shot at this thing as they come off of turn 4. The 96, he's going to take a look to the bottom. Navarro tries to block. They're going to wreck. Maines and Navarro are out of it. Malik, he's going to get split up top. It's Trevor Oswornoff. He wins it at Talladega. Second underdog win. He gets it done. The reaction says it all. He comes out of nowhere. What a win for Trevor Oswornoff.
And his teammate comes home second and pushed him all the way home. A statement win tonight in PGR for KSR. How about that? 1-2 for the teammates up front of Malik Ray.
We don't have it up, but certainly just saw the frustration on the driver cam for Michael Triscaro. He knew how close he was. He had a shot at it. Things just not quite playing out the way he wanted there at the end. But, man, oh, man, it's going to be all celebrations tonight. As I don't know. I'll tell you what, Dawson. It's not an underdog pick for me anymore. That's win number 2. This guy's figured something out that we certainly haven't, and he keeps this up. He's going to be putting himself right up there with the top of PGRs.
I'll tell you what, the KSR boys put in so much work into this thing, and it pays off tonight in a big way. It paid off when Trevor first won in PGR, but it pays off really big tonight. And for him and Dustin to come home 1-2, they're going to remember this one for a while. What a run for those two. And again, a statement tonight for the KSR team.
And, man, what a close one it was, too. You still got to feel a little bit there for James Thurston as well. It looked like he made the right move. We're going to have to take a second look at it. But first, how about the 2 teammates doing a little bit of burning it down? And, again, we will take a second look. But before we do any of that, let's take a look at how your finishing results here on the night shaped up. Again, your race winner, second win of his PGR career, goes to Trevor Oswornoff for KSR. Dustin Carruthers brings home second, Malik Ray in third, Nash Brambilla fourth, Matt Lee fifth with Dylan Jones in sixth, Matthew Baker in seventh, James Thurston eighth, Kevin Freeze in ninth, and Michael Triscaro rounding out your top 10.
Kenny McCullough finishes 11th. Cody Nagels, his quest for 5 straight PGR victories comes to an end tonight. He finishes 12th. Ryan Bass finishes 13th. Jack Hignite in 14th. Logan York finishes in 15th. Andrew Navarro finishes 16th. Stephen Scott Jr. in 17th. Zach Range in 18th. Joe Hurta in 19th. And Devin Ray finishes in the 20th position.
Garrett Maines, after pretty much being in the top 3 just about all night, finishes 21st after a last lap incident. Mike Davenport 22nd. Brock Westerlund in 23rd. J.R. Miller 24th. Justin Mills 25th. David Sheets 26th. Mark Von Dell back in 27th. Jeff Merck in 28th. Tucker McClendon in 29th. And Joshua Watson rounding out your top 30.
John Ward finishes 31st, Kenny Reel in 32nd, Richard Elliott in 33rd, Tony Cox finishes 34th with Chad Ross in 35th, and Sean Corbett rounds out the 36-car field tonight.
All right, and let's back this thing up before we go any further and take a look at this finish yet. We'll be getting top 3 interviews, or getting interviews from your top 3 and more here, but man, I mean, what a chaotic entire last lap this was. So we're going to break this thing down for probably about turn 1 onwards. And, you know, the first thing that I saw was James Thurston jumping up to the top. I thought that was the right move. He almost let himself get split, but he stayed smart and stayed true, and it worked out well. But Navarro and Maines, first thing, you thought they were too far ahead. Next, you think, okay, as races are getting out back, maybe they're not. And you see, as soon as they get onto the backstretch, Michael Triscaro says, I got Matthew Baker, Malik behind me. I'm going to the bottom. He does, and they both go with him. But a little bit of a stack up, I think, discouraged Malik from staying down on the bottom any longer. He tries to jump back up top and does just in front of Trevor Ostronoff. That leaves Triscaro and Baker on the bottom all by themselves. And now we're going to get a little dicey here going into turn 3, trying to figure out exactly what happens. Ooh, Freeze looks to the middle. Baker thinks about throwing a block. It causes a checkup. Then maybe some contact between Carruthers and Freeze. Sends Freeze down into Nagels. They start wrecking, and then here you go. The two teammates, the stars align as Ostronoff up top gets a push from Dustin Carruthers. And this is where this thing's going to start getting exciting right here. Malik Ray and Thurston, man, they had such a good look at it here. In fact, we'll go back to the TV follow cam and see if we can see exactly what happens. They got the run. They got the run. He times it perfect. Shoots to the bottom. I think maybe he gets a little bit of a sour shot from Malik, and I think that's just a product of trying to make the move so quick. Malik tries to follow. Maybe gets him a little offset right. Let's watch this slow. So there you see the 96. He ducks out. Malik tries to follow. Man, that's close. That may have been Navarro coming down just a little bit too much, because it's a hard call for me, Dawson. I mean, it looks like the 96 does get a little bit of a sour push, but Navarro has pretty much got it on his right front by that time anyway. And so maybe just hard racing there. And once they get spun out, sends Garrett Maines as well. Malik tries to cover the top, but it's just going to be too little too late at this point. And now it was all Trevor Ostronoff and Dustin Carruthers, the only two cars in camera frame that are linked up. And Dustin says, I'm going to push you all the way to the finish. Maybe takes a peek right there at the end, actually. Makes this a lot closer than it initially looked like it was going to be. And there you have it. That is how KSR finishes 1-2 in the Gen 6 cars. Puts KSR back on top for another PGR win.
I mean, it's textbook, right? The C's part for him right there. Off turn 4, man, it's close. I thought Thurston made the best move. I thought he was going to maybe give him a run there. Navarro, as he comes down, I think Garrett tried to follow him down. And as Garrett tries to follow, Navarro's already there, and he kind of goes across his nose. And, man, Thurston did everything he could. I thought he made the best move in the trial. Comes up a little bit short, but man, for those KSR teammates, it's got to feel pretty good. The seats parted for them, and they finished 1-2.
Certainly does. All right, well, let's go get your top 3 in here. First, some interviews. See if we can find them all. We will be right back at Talladega. Stick with us.
Coming back live from Talladega. We'll start tonight with our second place finisher, Dustin Carruthers of KSR. Dustin, it's Austin and Dustin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, this is the perfect example of being in the right place at the right time on the last lap. You guys were pushing hard. Stuff starts to happen. Take us through that last sequence. As you guys came off turn number 4, the seas parted, and you guys go 1-2.
Yeah, we were just running up top, and Trev, he got up in front of me, and we locked bumpers. I didn't really know what was going on up front. I just stayed behind Trev and was just going to push him until we died.
Well, it works out for you. You guys come home with a victory tonight in the Gen 6 cars, which they looked like a lot of fun to race from up here. I imagine it was really intense in the car. You know, kind of take us through the experience of running these cars and the intensity of the racing.
Yeah, it's a lot different than the trucks. The runs are crazy. The side drafting is crazy. You can bump a little bit in these things. It was a completely different experience than what I'm used to.
Well, it works out for you tonight. You come home in position number 2, a statement tonight by KSR, by you guys up front, and you come home in second. Before we let you go and celebrate with your teammates, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Oh, yeah, my wife and kids, all my buddies at Will Jordan Loan, KSR, Kenny Stamper, Trevin, Brian, Devin, everyone in the race tonight, was helping us out and spotting and doing everything they could to help make that possible tonight.
Well, it was a great effort by you guys, a statement for you guys tonight in PGR. Congratulations. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate it with your team. And congrats on a second place finish.
All right, absolutely. Thank you, Dawson.
All right, and now that'll bring us to your winner here on the night. Trevor Osnoth makes it win number 2, and it comes in a series that we don't get to see too often. Trevor, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir. Always. What's going on, man?
Well, we saw the reaction on cam. I think that said just about everything we needed to know. What a win it was. I mean, we didn't even realize you guys were in contention initially as we entered the back straightaway. All of a sudden, a couple blocks go wrong up front. You find you and your teammate locked up on the outside, and you get the win. How'd you guys manage to pull that one off?
Well, series of unfortunate events. And a lot of team communication going on, man. The KSR boys, they are killing it right now. We are on fire. We've been racking up money in all the other money races here and there, 1-2, 1-2, 3s, and this was just another one. To be honest with you, we got kind of lucky with it, but what's super speedway racing without a little luck?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have skill to be up there to have a chance at the luck at the end. But, I mean, we initially kind of were calling you an underdog pick. I don't think we can do that anymore after tonight. Now establishing yourself with PGR's best as you get your second win on the night. And it's a different series. Does it mean a little bit more to get in the Gen 6 cars over the typical trucks that we run?
Yes and no. First off, I got to say, I've been waiting for this for a very long time. PGR's only 2-time winner. Elite bunch right here. But it is a little different than the trucks. The trucks are a lot more team communication, team oriented. These cars, man, I remember before they switched over to the next gens, they were amazing cars, and these just showed it. Look at the racing. Lots of runs, dipping and diving, the blocking, the arrow, the suck up, the killing of lines. It's just there's so much more variation than there is to the trucks with these cars that it just made it a whole different set of shenanigans.
Well, I'll tell you what, great personality, great win, and another great drive for KSR as they bring it home 1-2. Before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Oh, dude, we gotta we gotta thank you guys for the broadcast, because I know every single time you guys come out here, you guys kill it, and I really appreciate that. It allows all our friends and family to see what we do, and it's an amazing time every single time. I got to thank the KSR boys, Ryan, Devin Ray, Philip, Jashawn, Brian. We got a new guy, Joe, Dustin, man. I don't know what it is with me and Dustin, but we're always either I'm in front or he's pushing me or I'm pushing him. Whichever way it works out, we just seem to happen to get this little connection that we got, and it's been killing, man. I really do. I think we're coming. We're coming for sure. Kenny Stamper, that joker right there got a job, a new job, and he can't make PGRs on Thursday night. So this is a great opportunity to show off KSRs. As you guys call it, we love it, the muscle. So I appreciate you guys.
There you go. Well, hey, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats again on the win, second win, and hopefully we'll see you out here again next week.
Of course. Y'all be safe, and see you next week.
Sounds good. There you go. Well, Dawson, I mean, you heard everything you needed to right there in the interview. He's pumped about it, and so am I. And I'm pumped about the racing in general. I mean, again, I know there was wrecks, but, I don't care what anybody says. We see wrecks every week, and we see a lot some weeks, not a lot some weeks. I really, really enjoy the way these cars raced. I mean, we saw everything from two-car tandem to lines, as Trevor put it, lines dying out in a hurry. I mean, it was like you constantly had a chance to go to the front no matter where you were in the pack and no matter which lane you were in. And for me, when it comes to super speedway racing, it doesn't get any better than that. What'd you think of it?
Again, I'm kind of biased. I love these cars. I raced them for over a year, pretty much exclusively when I got into super speedway racing for the first time. So I love the way they race then. I love the way they race, I think, even more now. I've heard several people say it about the next gens that those cars make you think. They make you have to process a little bit more, process a little bit faster. And tonight, I think it was even more of that, like even on a higher level, that you have to think even quicker. The runs are faster, the runs are bigger, the side draft is bigger. Everything is just raised a little bit in these cars, and it makes for a wild, intense, fun race. I had a blast watching this. I would completely be in favor of bringing these back. I want to race these instead of being stuck up here. I felt trapped. I wanted to be on the racetrack, but no, it was a lot of fun. And in terms of KSR, man, I've gotten to watch them pretty much every week for several months now on Monday nights and a couple other nights of the week, and they just continue to chip away, continue to do work. You heard Trevor say that they're coming, that they're working, and that they're getting better, and that's the truth. They continue to get better every time we see them, and tonight I think is their biggest statement yet, a 1-2 in PGR. So congrats to those guys. What a race. What an effort out of them.
I don't know if they're still coming because it looks to me like they're already here with that big win that they got tonight. But nonetheless, that's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight for PGR Esports at Talladega. Next week, Dawson, we start March Madness. It's going to be a big event. Excited for it. We'll have more details on that in the PGR Discord. If you want to check any of that out, we do have the link in the description below. Thank you all so much for tuning out tonight. That's going to do it for me, Austin Green, and Dawson Wise here on Ghost Racing Network. We hope you all enjoyed. We will be back next week. Until then, have a good night.